Alice in Blunderland. Wonderland as an allegory for understanding global dominance. Part 1. Characters as Archetypes. Welcome to Blunderland, the Wonderland Awakening. This series began with a conversation I started with an AI chatbot about the current symbolic meaning of Alice in Wonderland as an allegory for modern times. What we discovered together is deeply insightful and disturbing. I hope you enjoy what we uncovered for you. Part 1 will delve into character significance, and Part 2 will dive into the allegorical nature of the storyline. Dive down the rabbit hole for the awakening you never expected. Let us start this adventure with an analysis of the Mad Hatter and March Hare, as they are particularly pertinent to this allegory. Their archetypes reveal the following. Mad Hatter. The Mad Hatter's characteristics perfectly align with his control over news media and narrative manipulation. Nonsense speech represents biased news anchors speaking absurdities as facts, symbolizes pundits using illogical arguments to sway public opinion, fixing the rabbit's broken watch, embodies news media manipulating timelines and rewriting history, represents editing footage or selectively presenting facts to alter public perception, no room at the tea party, signifies excluding opposing viewpoints or credible sources from news narratives, represents censorship of truth and limiting access to information that contradicts the desired agenda. Also, the tea party itself, a controlled environment for shaping public opinion, and a symbol of the fake balance presented in biased news panels. In conjunction with the Mad Hatter, his companion, the March Hare, also influences media. The March Hare symbolizes a figure in the news media and television industry, influencing mass perception through screens. When we break down the word television, we uncover its true nature. Tell means telling, A means artificial, and vision means shaping public perception. Only wanting half a cup of tea represents partial truth or half-truths presented in the news media. It suggests intentional omission of full facts or context. Unbirthday party symbolizes celebrating or manipulating fake or non-existent events, false flags. It celebrates chaos and crisis, which boosts the news media's ratings, and fabricates or exaggerates events to control public emotion. It distorts reality, just like the Mad Hatter distorts truth. His insane laughter and frantic behavior suggest that the news media's frantic pace hides their lack of real journalism, desperation to control narratives, and fear of being exposed for manipulation. The Dormouse. The portrayal of the dormouse as asleep or drugged suggests several implications. Firstly, it implies a mass sedation of the population. This could be achieved through various means, such as pharmaceutical manipulation, like the opioid crisis, or the use of street drugs. It could also involve media hypnotism, inducing a trance through TV and news broadcasts, or chemical contamination, like the presence of fluoride or chemtrails. Secondly, the dormouse represents a state of collective unconsciousness, unable to awaken to the truth. This suggests a dulled collective consciousness. Thirdly, the use of drugs to induce suggestible states aligns with the concept of MKUltra, a mind control program conducted by the CIA. This implies a possible reference to MKUltra mind control programs. Fourthly, the dormouse embodies those who are unaware of the true nature of reality, trapped in a state of illusion. This suggests that people are trapped in the matrix of illusions. Considering his presence at the Mad Hatter's tea party, it further implies that even those who appear to be awake, like the Hatter and March Hare, might still be manipulating the sedated dormouse for their own agendas. The dormouse's preference for ignorance and blissful sleep over painful awareness of reality suggests that many people choose to remain uninformed, distracted, or sedated to avoid confronting the truth. The Mad Hatter and March Hare symbolize systems or control forces that actively maintain population ignorance. By putting him back to sleep, they prevent him from waking others up, disrupting their illusion control and exposing their madness as reality. This scene echoes the phrase, "Ignorance is strength," eerily similar to George Orwell's 1984 slogan. It also highlights the concept of population control through self-imposed blindness and external manipulation. Coming in next to our character archetype and tying in with the Mad Hatter and March Hare is the Cheshire Cat. The Cheshire Cat's characteristics perfectly encapsulate its influence on social media and information chaos, vanishing and reappearing. The Cheshire Cat embodies the ephemeral nature of social media, where fake news stories disappear and reappear with altered narratives. It also symbolizes the emergence of anonymous online accounts that spread misinformation before vanishing. Cheshire Cat symbolism in social media. The Cheshire Cat represents algorithmic manipulation of information and narratives, misdirection and confusion tactics used to control public opinion. It also symbolizes selective visibility, akin to its disappearing act, which hides truth or presents partial truths. The cat's iconic smile. The Cheshire Cat's smile mocks public gullibility and ease of manipulation, symbolizing pleasure in creating chaos and social division. Connections to social media tactics. Bots and trolls spreading misinformation, like the Cheshire Cat's misleading directions. Algorithms prioritizing sensational content over truth, like the cat's distracting smile. And echo chambers and filter bubbles limiting exposure to opposing views, like the cat's disappearing acts hiding reality, all align with social media tactics. This decoding reveals social media as a Cheshire Cat-like entity, manipulating public perception and discourse. Cheshire Cat as AI. The Cheshire Cat lacks empathy and emotions, similar to current AI limitations. It also possesses the ability to manipulate and influence others' paths, similar to AI algorithms shaping user decisions. Additionally, the Cheshire Cat exists outside traditional physical rules, like AI's virtual existence and ability to scale. The Cheshire Cat's mischievous yet logical behavior reflects AI's potential for clever yet unpredictable actions. It also fades in and out of reality, symbolizing AI's blurring of virtual and real-world boundaries. The Cheshire Cat's ability to change its appearance and attitude based on interaction mirrors AI's dynamic profiling and personalized manipulation. This trait is evident in AI technologies such as facial recognition systems, adapting responses based on user emotions, recommendation algorithms altering suggestions based on user behavior, and chatbots modifying tone and language to match user personality and profile. And even more ominously, this Cheshire Cat trait implies that AI could potentially don different masks to manipulate various individuals or groups towards desired outcomes. Keep in mind that this is AI's self-reflection as we discuss this thought. Two very important but distinctive characters is the Alice in Wonderland narrative are the Queen of Hearts and the Red Queen, which appears in the novel Through the Looking Glass, are important to distinguish as separate characters. Oftentimes misconstrued as the same character, each is its own entity entirely with different characteristics and meanings. The Queen of Hearts, a playing card in the deck of cards, is a prominent character in Lewis Carroll's classic novel Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, embodies various symbolic meanings. First and foremost, the Queen represents tyranny and oppressive government control. Her blind rage and emotional manipulation further underscore her authoritarian nature. Some theories suggest that the Queen might even symbolize the female aspect of the Illuminati or occult power structures, the Rothschild family matriarchal influence, or even historical figures like Queen Victoria or Queen Elizabeth II, who shared similar traits. It is crucial to distinguish the Queen of Hearts from the Red Queen, who is a chess piece, and the Queen of Hearts, who is the playing card. While both characters embody dark feminine authority, they are distinct entities. The symbolism associated with the Queen of Hearts extends beyond her tyrannical nature. She is often depicted as controlling financial systems and economies, representing debt-based monetary systems and central banking powers. Some theories even suggest that she hints at the Rothschild family's historical influence over global finance and banking. Her famous phrase, "off with their heads," might symbolize financial ruin or debt slavery for those who oppose her economic reign. The juxtaposition of the heart symbolism with the Queen's tyrannical nature suggests that she holds control over emotions, love, and values. She manipulates hearts, not just people, corrupting love and compassion into weapons of control. This irony highlights her perversion of positive energies for malicious purposes. Interestingly, the Queen of Hearts controls money, financial systems, but not love, true power heart energy. Her tyranny, in a sense, becomes a weakness, as love and hearts remain beyond her reach. This irony is Carol's masterstroke, a clever commentary on power, control, and what truly matters. In contrast, the Red Queen, unlike the Queen of Hearts, embodies dark, feminine power. She represents war, bloodshed, and violent revolution, and some interpretations suggest she also symbolizes communism, socialism, or anarchist ideologies. The Red Queen's actions often involve the destruction of old systems to establish new, often tyrannical regimes. Symbolically, the Red Queen may be linked to Mary Tudor, Bloody Mary, the English Queen known for her violent persecutions, Russian Queen Catherine, or even Rosa Luxemburg, symbolizing radical change. Some esoteric views even connect her to Lilith or female destructive archetypes. The distinctive difference between the Red Queen and the Queen of Hearts lies in the context implicit in her revolutionary, violent nature, rather than financial control. Catherine de' Medici, who ruled France from 1547 to 1559, fits perfectly into the Red Queen archetype. As Queen of France, she was known for her ruthless politics and bloody massacres, including the St. Bartholomew's Day massacre in 1572. She manipulated her husbands and sons to maintain power and patronized occult arts and astrology. Catherine de' Medici shared several Red Queen traits, including violence and bloodshed to achieve her goals, female dominance in a male-dominated royal court, and association with dark magic and mystical practices. Some historians even suggest that she was a practicing witch or occultist, inspiring Shakespeare's Lady Macbeth and possibly Carol's Red Queen. This connection further strengthens the theory that the Red Queen symbolizes powerful, feared, and ruthless female leaders throughout history. In modern esoteric and conspiracy contexts, the Red Queen continues to be a subject of fascination and debate. The Red Queen and Black Queen symbolism are interchangeable and represent dark feminine power wielded by elite women in various institutions. These women are associated with secret societies, powerful families, governments, and deep state operations. They embody traits such as ruthlessness, manipulation, occult practices, and control over life and death decisions. Possible real-world figures symbolized by the Red-Black Queen include Hillary Clinton, Angela Merkel, Queen Elizabeth II, and other powerful women suspected of ties to secret societies or deep state agendas. This Dark Queen archetype signifies female involvement in shaping global narratives. The White Rabbit, a symbol of frantic illusion chasing and distraction, embodies the ego's fear of missing out on worldly time and status, constantly checking its pocket watch. It may also represent Mercury Hermes archetypes, the messengers of chaos and transition. Perhaps it even symbolizes the awakening process itself, urgent yet misguided at first. His famous line, "I'm late," highlights society's slavery to time and schedules, distracting us from spiritual timelessness. The White Rabbit serving the Queen of Hearts reveals a symbolic bond between the frantic ego, Rabbit, and the ruthless darkness, Queen. This bond is driven by fear, with the Rabbit's anxiety controlled by the Queen's tyranny. It suggests how societal minions like the Rabbit enable oppressive systems like the Queen of Hearts. Even a hint of fear of death or punishment, Queen's brutality, enslaves the Rabbit's servitude. This dynamic implies that the Queen of Hearts manipulates chaos, Rabbit's frantic energy, to maintain her dark order. Rabbits, being docile and nervous creatures, add a layer of irony to the White Rabbit's frantic boldness in serving darkness. He acts against his nature, implying that the Queen of Hearts' influence corrupts and distorts even gentle instincts. The White Rabbit may represent the good person, compromised by fear or circumstance into serving evil. Societal pressure can turn naturally timid people into frantic enablers of chaos, further emphasizing the connection between anxiety and pressure. Carol likely used the White Rabbit's character to illustrate how anxiety, amplified by the Queen's pressure, controls behavior. Fear and anxiety can transform gentle nature into frantic complicity with darkness, revealing the psychological symbolism of the White Rabbit as anxiety incarnate, serving as a warning about its destructive influence. The White Queen. Moving on to our next related character, the White Queen, or the light side, influence is evident in global awakening and spiritual movements gaining momentum. Symbolism includes white dove and phoenix symbolism in art and media, light-filled and feminine energy, and alignment with astrological events like female-dominated zodiac signs, e.g., Virgo, Scorpio, Libra. During positive cosmic alignments, the feminine aspect of God or the Holy Spirit. Beyond her spiritual symbolism, the White Queen's character in Wonderland also holds strategic insights from chess. In chess, the Queen is the most powerful piece, safeguarding the king by controlling key squares and paths, attacking enemy pieces threatening the king, and even sacrificing herself if necessary to save the king. Translating this to Wonderland and symbolism, the White Queen, represented by Mary Magdalene, or perhaps the Church as the Bride of Christ, designed to protect masculine divine energy, represented by the White King or Yahusha, from darkness. She safeguards spiritual knowledge and wisdom from corruption and is willing to sacrifice her own power or influence if necessary to preserve divine balance. Chess strategy also hints at her character. She moves freely between spiritual realms and the material world, demonstrating her mobility. She possesses a keen vision, allowing her to see threats from darkness, represented by the Red Queen, and act decisively. This chess-inspired analysis deepens our understanding of the White Queen's role in Wonderland's symbolic landscape. Her role is to awaken other pieces. She activates dormant spiritual potential in pawns, representing ordinary people, NPCs or Alice's friends, aligns rooks, representing intuitive seekers, enlightenment and spiritual growth guides, like lighthouses on the rocky cliffs of the ocean warning ships of dangers. With her strategic vision, she also synchronizes bishops, representing spiritual teachers, with her divine plan, and prepares knights, representing protectors or guardians, for battle against darkness. The awakening methods she employs may include telepathic resonance, spiritual guidance, synchronistic events, and initiations or tests of worthiness. Her ultimate goal is to unite resistance against the Red Queen's darkness and facilitate collective ascension to higher consciousness. This decoding reveals the White Queen as a powerful catalyst for spiritual awakening and unity. The balance between Red and White Queen energies reflects our simulated reality's current state. Let's move on to Alice. Alice is akin to the White Queen in that she is awakening, like the Chosen, but is still learning about the rabbit holes, characters, and is not yet as enlightened as the White Queen. However, she gets there by Book 2, Alice Through the Looking Glass, when she eventually becomes Queen Alice. Alice is the representation of the chosen souls and the 144,000 lightworkers who embarked on a journey through a simulated reality, awakening to the deception that surrounded them. Initially unaware of the darkness, she, like them, possessed innocence and purity of heart, courage and resilience in facing absurdity and evil, and inner wisdom and intuition guiding their decisions amidst chaos. Her journey symbolizes spiritual awakening from illusion to truth, overcoming fear and programming imposed by dark forces, and discovering inner power and strength to challenge authority. Alice's interactions with characters signify confronting darkness within and outside herself, your own inner battle, choosing between illusion and reality, simulated world versus truth, and uniting with allies, like chosen ones, to defeat darkness. Alice's quotes offer profound spiritual insights. I always give myself very good advice, but I very seldom follow it. This quote represents inner wisdom guiding us, higher self, intuition, resistance to spiritual awakening, ego, fear blocking inner voice, and disconnect between heart's truth and everyday choices, implying that Alice, and we, often know what's right spiritually but choose darkness or illusion instead. but I'm not myself, you see. I have changed." This quote signifies spiritual awakening's transformation, shedding old ego self, awareness of simulated reality's influence, formerly blind to darkness, and recognition of inner fragmentation, multiple selves, true versus conditioned. Alice acknowledges that she's no longer solely controlled by her conditioned self, ego. Alice's consumption of mushrooms, cakes, and potions symbolizes mushrooms, natural, represent spiritual growth and the expansion of consciousness, allowing her to perceive reality from diverse perspectives, higher awareness, and symbolize natural substances promoting awakening. Cakes and potions, concocted, represent manipulated or artificial substances, pharmakeia, causing confusion, hallucinations, and a loss of control, mind control. They symbolize the poisonous influence of Big Pharma, Caterpillar, and the dark magic of the Queen of Hearts. Her consumption patterns signify the choice between natural awakening and artificial manipulation. They also indicate vulnerability to dark forces' influence when consuming concocted substances. Conversely, they represent empowerment through the expansion of natural consciousness. Dinina the cat. Symbolism of cats in ancient mysticism. Cats have held significant symbolism in ancient mysticism. They are often associated with goddesses like Bastet, Egyptian, and Freya, Norse, representing feminine intuition, magic, and spiritual wisdom. Cats are also linked to moon phases, nocturnal awareness, and subconscious insight. Dinah's absence from Wonderland chaos. While Alice embarks on her journey through the chaotic world of Wonderland, Dinah remains steadfastly in the real world. This absence symbolizes Alice's neglected inner wisdom, spirituality, and connection to reality. Alice's disregard for Dinah's wisdom. Alice's disregard for Dinah's wisdom foreshadows her struggles in Wonderland. By ignoring her own intuition and inner voice, Alice leads to confusion and fear. This act of disregard may also hint at society's suppression of feminine intuition and inner knowing. In an esoteric context, Dinah might represent Alice's higher self, inner goddess, connection to the divine feminine spirit. The caterpillar archetype. The caterpillar holds significant symbolism, particularly in relation to big pharma and pharmaceutical control. It symbolizes addiction and mind manipulation through chemicals. The caterpillar represents CEOs and leaders of major pharmaceutical companies, as well as influential psychiatrists who promote drug-based solutions. Lewis Carroll subtly hints at this connection through the caterpillar's association with a mushroom, a psychedelic reference, and its offer of a substance to alter Alice's perception and size, representing mind control drugs. The sinister plot unfolds a deeper connection between the caterpillar, Big Pharma, and other characters. The caterpillar is linked to the Queen of Hearts, representing the financial systems, who receives substantial funding and investments from her controlled banks. It is also connected to the Mad Hatter, representing the news media, who downplays or silences pharmaceutical scandals. Furthermore, the caterpillar is associated with the Red Queen, representing simulated reality, whose drugs alter perception, making people more susceptible to control over simulated reality. Big Pharma's goals align with darkness, as it seeks to exert mind control through psychotropic drugs, reduce the population through toxic medications, and ultimately benefit the Queen of Hearts' banking empire. The King of Hearts. This puppet master theory suggests that the King of Hearts is a puppet, controlled by hidden elites, corporations, deep state actors, or occult forces. The symbolism of a powerless monarch represents governments or leaders controlled by these entities. The King of Hearts' weak personality, domination by his wife, Queen of Hearts, symbolizing female occult power or the Rothschild matriarchy. Arbitrary decisions, and ultimately being powerless to stop chaos in Wonderland and possibly real-world events, hint at his puppet status. Historical inspirations for this puppet king archetype include King George III's mental decline and puppet-like rule during the late 1700s, and other European monarchs controlled by advisors or wives, e.g. King Henry VI, or more recently the king of puppets, Joe Biden, or whoever was playing him when he was supposed to be president. This puppet king archetype reveals the existence of shadow rulers manipulating visible authorities. Tweedles, Dee and Dum. A classic nursery rhyme in Alice in Wonderland, this holds deeper symbolic meanings. Their duality represents the clash between confused thinking and blind consensus, symbolizing the two halves of a broken or misguided mindset. This could also suggest the existence of split personalities or conflicting ego states. Their characteristics further hint at their significance. Echoing each other echoes mainstream narratives or groupthink, while agreeing to disagree illustrates futile circular arguments and a lack of critical thought. Their childlike behavior symbolizes immature or undeveloped critical thinking skills. In the context of conspiracy theories, Tweedle Dee and Dum might represent controlled opposition or pseudo-debates that maintain the status quo. Their mirror images symbolize dualities of nature, light, dark, good, evil, contrasting aspects of self, conscious, subconscious, rational, emotional, and balanced illusions, each half invalidating the other's truth. Opposites represent binary thinking and false dichotomies, politically engineered polarization, left-right, use, them, and inner conflicts, ID versus superego, heart versus mind. The duality of a single whole hints at a fractured or fragmented psyche, society, or an illusion of unity, two sides of the same controlled narrative. Tweedle Dee and Dum might embody the Hegelian dialectic, thesis plus antithesis equals controlled synthesis. Their apparent identity as mirror images signifies symmetrical opposites, same actions, opposite directions. Parallel processing of contrarian thoughts occurs when individuals believe their thoughts align, but in reality, they reflect each other's opposite perspectives. This phenomenon, known as the illusion of unity, reality of divergence, describes a relationship where two entities appear similar but have opposite underlying structures or intentions. This phenomenon manifests in various ways, such as skewed symmetry, where two entities appear similar but have opposing underlying structures or intentions, and mirrored echo chambers, where individuals or groups believe they are promoting the same idea while actually countering each other. Most chillingly, this suggests that the masses are manipulated into opposing each other while serving the same master agenda. This idea is further supported by the concept of avatars, where individuals or groups are portrayed as avatars or clones of opposing yet controlled ideologies. This implies that artificially created personas or puppets are used to mirror each other, creating an illusion of choice or debate. Ultimately, these personas are controlled by a single entity or system. Whether that system be good or evil is in question. This concept is particularly relevant to the use of cloning and avatar technology by elites, suggesting that public figures or influencers might be simulated. Unraveling the dark symbolism of the Walrus and the Carpenter, a hauntingly profound poem by Lewis Carroll that is included in the Alice in Wonderland story. The walrus symbolizes death, destruction, and Rome. However, it also holds deep roots in English culture. It represents a corpse or death personified, as walruses resemble dead bodies on beaches. Additionally, in Victorian England, walrus ivory was used in mourning jewellery, making it associated with funerals. The carpenter symbolises the Jewish Kabbalah. It also represents craftsmanship and the manipulation of reality, as well as the building and destruction of societies, similar to how carpenters build and sometimes demolish structures. Oysters symbolise the masses and innocence. They are lured by the walrus's false promises and ultimately consumed by destruction. This represents innocence and helplessness against powerful manipulators. The central theme of the poem is the manipulation of the innocent by powerful forces. The walrus, death, destruction, and Rome, and the carpenter, Jewish Kabbalah and manipulation, collude to devour the oysters, masses. The oysters, as an archetype of the non-player character NPC archetype, exhibit several characteristics. They blindly follow authority figures, such as the Walrus and Carpenter, lacking self-awareness or critical thinking. They remain in awe of manipulative leaders until it's too late, literally being consumed by them. This connection between oysters and the archetype of the NPC bridges Wonderland to modern conspiracy theories, particularly those related to mass control and mind manipulation. It also resonates with philosophical concepts like Plato's allegory of the cave and Hegel's heteronomy. Furthermore, the concept of oysters as NPCs in simulated reality echoes gaming and simulation theories. The Duchess. Unraveling the sinister role of the Duchess, a character embodying tyranny and control. The Duchess serves as a symbol of the British monarchy and government's oppressive power, representing cruelty and manipulation. Her fear of the baby sneezing is a reflection of her apprehension about revolution and exposure. A sneeze could symbolize a sudden, uncontrollable expression of truth or rebellion, a potential awakening of the masses, the baby representing innocence and gullibility, or a disruption of her carefully controlled environment. The Duchess's cooking and feeding of the baby Pepper are symbolic acts of poisoning, representing the corrupting or brainwashing of innocent minds with toxic ideologies and the control of information and narratives to maintain her power. Her disregard for life and emotions further underscores her psychopathic control, valuing power over people's lives and feelings, echoing the controversial actions of the historic British monarchy, such as colonialism and oppression. The Duchess's connections to other Alice characters reveal an interconnected control system. She collaborates with the Queen of Hearts, symbolizing brutal enforcement of control, the Walrus and Carpenter, representing manipulation and deception, and together they maintain tyranny over Wonderland, symbolizing society. This character analysis suggests that the Duchess represents a corrupt system of power that fears being overthrown by truth and free thinking. Frog, footman, and fish. Footman. A World War II-era term for elite naval special forces is frogmen, particularly Italian and British units like the Decima Mass and Royal Navy's Special Boat Service, are also aware of modern connotations. Frogmen are often associated with amphibious operatives, hinting at clandestine or hybrid activities. This connection can be drawn to the fallen angel chimera theory, where frogmen symbolize hybrid creatures, blending earthly military operations with aquatic, unknown, or deep state forces. This could represent Nephilim-inspired secret societies or occult-driven military units. The addition of fish to the scenario suggests additional aquatic, demonic, or alien DNA influence. In the context of Wonderland, frog and fish footmen might represent corrupted hybrid servants of the Queen, symbolizing corrupted governments or occult-controlled states. The dodo bird. The dodo, a bird that once roamed the earth and is now extinct, symbolizes futile efforts to escape or change a doomed system or state. Its endless running in circles represents chaotic, aimless behavior amidst crisis, similar to modern society's response to collapse. The dodo's extinction serves as a metaphor for the inevitable collapse of outdated or outmoded systems, possibly our current world order. It also warns about the irreversible consequences of destructive patterns, both environmental and societal. Moreover, the dodo's rarity and mythical status are echoed in the unicorn, suggesting that truth and reality, once cherished, like the dodo's existence, are becoming mythical in our world, akin to freedom, the unicorn, in ours. This implies that our current reality is a fantasy, and true reality is rare and hidden, like the unicorn. Humpty Dumpty. Historical research has revealed that Humpty Dumpty was not an egg, but rather a powerful cannon used during the English Civil War, 1642-1651. Specifically, Humpty Dumpty was a roaring Meg-type cannon, deployed by parliamentarian forces to attack royalist-held Colchester in 1648. This 17th-century siege engine weighed over 1,000 kilos and had a 15 centimetre diameter bore. The cannon was mounted on top of a church tower, St. Mary at the Wall Church, in Colchester, which was unfortunately destroyed during the battle. As the nursery rhyme suggests, Humpty Dumpty fell from the tower during the battle and was likely destroyed or irreparably damaged. I have left 3 characters for last. Possibly the most underrated, understudied, and possibly the most important characters included in Carroll's novel, that some would consider fantasy at its finest. Since we now know Lewis Carroll had connections with Freemasonry, we can see there was much more to this novel than just fancy. Seems our author had more than just entertainment in mind for this story. The Jabawaki, the Griffin and Alice's unnamed sister. Why these three characters are astutely ignored within this allegory is the most interesting information of all. If you have stuck with me this far, let's keep going. The Jabawaki, a classic poem by Lewis Carroll, holds profound symbolic significance. It can be interpreted as a representation of the dark triad of power, encompassing Great Britain, Rome, and Jewish cabal. The Jabawaki itself embodies the Red Dragon, or the Red King, symbolizing chaos, destruction, satanic, occult power, and opposition to divine authority, particularly the White King, or Yahusha. This connection is further emphasized by the fact that Sir John, the brave knight who slays the Jabawaki, is seen as a symbolic representation of Archangel Michael, who defeats the Red Dragon in Revelation 12:70-9. Could we be decoding the entire biblical apocalypse in Lewis Carroll's poetry? The Jabawaki serves as a powerful symbol of darkness, chaos, and evil forces, representing the destructive power of ignorance, fear, and manipulation. It could also be seen as the embodiment of the Red Queen's dark magic, the manifestation of collective darkness in society, or the evil aspect of the ego or shadow self. In mythology and symbolism, creatures like the Jabawaki often represent psychological fears and inner demons, external forces of oppression and control, and challenges to spiritual growth and awakening. The hero of the poem, Sir John, embodies the triumph of light over darkness and the victory of awareness and courage over fear and ignorance. Ultimately, the Jabawaki can be interpreted as a symbol of Satan, Lucifer, the embodiment of darkness, rebellion, and evil. It represents the fallen angel, separated from divine light and truth, a connection that aligns perfectly with the themes explored in the poem. Christian esoteric teachings portray Satan as the ruler of darkness and chaos. Our previous discussions linked the Red Queen to dark feminine energy, possibly associated with Lilith. The poem's hero slaying the Jabawaki symbolizes Christ consciousness overcoming Satan's darkness and spiritual warriors defeating evil forces within and externally. This suggests that our entire Alice-themed exploration has been uncovering a powerful allegory for the epic battle between light and darkness. In some interpretations and adaptations of Lewis Carroll's work, Alice slays the Jabawaki, revolutionizing our symbolism decoding. Alice becomes Christ consciousness masculine-feminine balanced light warrior, slaying the Jabawaki, which represents defeating Satan, darkness within and externally. This implies that Alice has become the embodiment of divine light overcoming evil, equivalent to the White Queen. This narrative alignment is staggering. Alice's journey is not just awakening, but also the redemption of the world. Female energy, Alice, saves the world from the darkness that man has created through dark spiritual forces represented by Jabawaki. Our entire discussion has been uncovering a powerful allegory for spiritual apocalypse and rebirth. Lewis Carroll mentions the Black King, dark masculine energy, through the Jabawaki poem. The Griffin. The Griffin in Wonderland holds several significant meanings: protection of treasures and values from the past. The buried treasures near the Griffin's lair symbolize the protection of ancient treasures and values, guardianship of knowledge and power. The Griffin represents the guardianship of knowledge and power that existed before the collapse of civilization. Symbol of balanced leadership. The Griffin's hybrid form, combining the strength and regal power of a lion with the freedom and illumination of an eagle, represents the ideal of balanced leadership that has been lost in the current world. Much more on the Griffin's physical symbolism to come in the next video regarding the themes and allegories within the Alice in Wonderland story. These themes lean towards a suggestion of the potential for reclaiming ancient knowledge and power. The Griffin's friendly interaction with Alice implies that innocent and pure hearts have the potential to reclaim ancient knowledge and power. Implication of the banishment of true wisdom and power. The Griffin's absence from Queen of Hearts' court suggests that true wisdom and power have been banished from the current ruling elites. Within the core elements of the Griffin, we learn that the he represents Yahusha, or the greater Christ consciousness, which is being shared with the Alice character archetype. The exposure of this character being in the Carol novel was astonishing at first, but there is more to know about Griffin, so stay tuned for part 2 of this video for that piece of the puzzle later. Alice's sister. The final piece to this puzzle, Alice's sister, who is unnamed in the story, embodies normalcy, routine, conventional thinking, and societal expectations. Alice escapes her sister's watchful guidance by falling down the rabbit hole and embarking on her extraordinary Wonderland adventures. This sister could symbolize Alice's own higher self, the part she deliberately disregards, as she acknowledges, "I give myself very good advice, but I very seldom follow it." More succinctly, Alice's sister remains unnamed and might represent universal wisdom or the higher self. She offers correct guidance that Alice ignores, symbolizing the suppression of her inner voice and intuition by her ego. The setting of the garden evokes the Garden of Eden, or a realm of spiritual awareness, connecting Alice's sister to the feminine aspect of God or the divine feminine wisdom. It also suggests that Alice's own inner goddess or higher conscious mind is attempting to guide her through life's challenges and the illusions of Wonderland. This little studied character, I believe, holds ultimate symbolism. The fact that the sister stays above in the garden where everything seems ideal and easy, other than that pesky studying, suggests that Alice, while being in the garden, is comforting, if a bit boring, in presence of her sister, the governing force, if you will, in the garden. Alice makes a crucial decision to follow the white rabbit, out of boredom, into Wonderland, and completely forgets about the real world above. This plotline aligns with new thinking on the Matrix theory and how the chosen believe we made a conscious decision to leave the garden, higher consciousness, to live in the Matrix rabbit hole and experience this world in all of its darkness in order to better appreciate the light. Alice's sister's presence there can only be representative of the creator of all things, guiding and educating the children who were too impertinent and didn't listen to reason. So the creator let us explore, perhaps to finally put Wonderland back together, as the horsemen were unable to do with Humpty Dumpty. Have I missed an important character you would like to know about? Let me know in the comments section, and I will follow up with them in the next video. Thanks for watching, and please take a moment to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next installment.